Hey beautiful, welcome back. I am so excited to share this interview with you today. Now, this person that we're interviewing is probably my most favorite human on this planet. And I know you probably shouldn't have favorites, but I do anyways, and I don't care. I've actually interviewed this person once before, but that interview never made it to air, and I'm kind of glad because I was seriously flirting my ass off when we filmed it, so I am mortified, but maybe I'll reveal it one day. Anyways, this beautiful person is my divine husband, Nick, and today he's going to share with you the launch of his debut single, Little Lover. I am so excited. I've been bursting with excitement to share this stuff with you. I've been wanting to share more and I haven't been able to, so I am so excited. So let's dive in.
I wanna fly. I wanna fly. I wanna lie next to you on a white place, honey, I love you.
I am so excited to have this beautiful divine human sitting next to me because today is such a special day. Not only do you get an insight into my handsome husband, but today he is launching his first ever debut single, Little Lover, out into the world. And I'm so excited for you guys to bear witness to this. It's really, really exciting. So I know what has gone into this creative process. I know all the blood, sweat and tears that have gone into the song, the branding, the music video. Can you share with us, why Little Lover, why this song, and why now?
Yeah, I think there's probably less blood, sweat and tears, to be honest. It was more a state of finally letting it just to happen. It took a long time for me to be here and to actually do this, It was something which it eluded me for most of my life. I knew I was supposed to be doing this, but I just kept finding reasons not to do it. So to be here today is, it's a relief, to be honest. And Little Lover, I wrote it not long before we met, and I was coming out of another relationship. And I was imagining what it would be like to have that soulmate, that person who really sees you. I don't think I'd ever really been seen for who I truly was. And I was imagining that. What would that be like? And it's really a song about love and sex and spending your life with someone. And the lyrics are fairly obvious in the sense that, wrap your legs around me and do those things like you do like no other. That's fairly obvious that it's about intimacy. But then I talk about lying next to you on a white plane, and I was really, lying next to you. I guess I was trying to call you in or manifest you, but lying next to you in a white plane really signifies if you're lying down on a plane, you're in business class or first class. And I sort of imagined a level of abundance and traveling around the world doing what I love, which is music, with the person that I love. And so really it was kind of a song in many ways about dreams or visions. And it came to me very easily. I think I wrote it in about 5 minutes. It just sort of came. And they're always the best ones. So yeah, it was a pretty effortless process to actually write the song, but to get it to where it is right here now today is a whole different story, for sure.
You said there was a bit of resistance to get here. It's always been there within you, to do your music, and you've had a lot of success in everything that you've done, being with Sneaky Sound System for 7 years, and then real estate and producing Superhuman and creating Aspire and, working in my business and creating an app, and everything you touch turns to gold, everything. But why were you resisting stepping into your truth with music?
I think the one thing that you should be doing, I'll rephrase that, not should. The one thing that is your truth, that your essence, is often the hardest thing to do.
Why?
Well, Stephen Pressfield in The War of Art talks about resistance, and resistance really is that force, the ego, the mean girl, the bad boy, whatever you want to call it, which really bangs away and tries to get in the way of you doing or being yourself, your true self. And it's incredibly uncomfortable when you're in that state where you know that you could be doing something way more true for yourself, but you're doing something else because it's easier. And so I found
safe.
Absolutely safe. And I found a gazillion things that I could do other than just doing this, which was ultimately upsetting and frustrating because deep down I felt empty. You know, I felt like until I do this, and we had conversations when we first met about it, and I really had just made that decision to go full on into it. And even 6 months to a year of that process, I still wasn't where I am today. I didn't have the finished product, and I still had moments, and you'll vouch for this, I'm sure, I still had moments where it was upsetting, you know, to be in that place where I just hadn't quite got it to where I wanted to yet. I didn't have the right team, I didn't have the right sound, I didn't have the right producer. There was things which weren't gelling, and I guess I was probably pushing it, trying to make it happen. And then I kind of just let go and just, you know, I was supposed to work with one producer and that didn't happen, then another producer and that didn't happen. And I just sort of stopped and thought, you know what, it's all perfect, that's fine. Something better is around the corner. And literally it was 24 hours away, I met my next producer. And so when I finally got out of the way and let it flow to me, then it really started happening in a way which felt like, wow, this is exactly where I want to be. But resistance is a very, very, very powerful and nasty little thing. And, you know, it's a sign that you're not on path, you're not on purpose. When you feel that uncomfortable, icky feeling, that's a sign. And if you can feel that and hear it, the best thing I can say to anyone is to pick up on it early and adapt and move towards the thing that you really want to do. Because the longer you wait, the bigger the ramifications and the harder it is to turn it around. It's like a big ship. And it's really hard to turn that ship around the longer you wait. And for me personally, the ramifications were my health. You know, I was very sick for 3 years. And I think that was really the universe saying, like, come on, dude, like, this is not you. I have to send you some sort of message to change. You've got a bigger mission here. You've got a much bigger job on this planet to do. You shouldn't be selling real estate. You should be doing something totally different. And I resisted and resisted. I got sicker and sicker and sicker. And then finally I threw my hands in the air and said, okay, I get it. And that's kind of how I got here today.
Wow. What happens when, you know, a lot of my tribe, they know that thing that they, you know, that thing that they're meant to be doing. It's their mission, it's their purpose. And whether that is, you know, being a health coach or a yoga teacher or a musician or a painter or whatever it is, they have that yearning within them. And there's so much resistance and so much fear. And what happens when we suppress it, it just bubbles away and bubbles away. Can we get away with it?
You can never. I mean, sure you can, but there's a price to pay for that. And it's how much of a price to pay, how much of a price are you willing to pay? And you and I always say, when we feel like we're going against our intuition, we always say, oh man, we're going to pay for this. And we always do, every single time.
There's always a consequence when you ignore your truth.
Absolutely. And the intuition is that feeling where you just know that you should be doing something different. Like, oh, don't know if this feels right. And when you have that feeling, really listen to it. And for me, as I said, you know, I ignored that for a very long time. And even though I had some success in music before, it wasn't my baby, it wasn't my thing. I was in a band, I was the youngest, I was very managed, and I had a lot of fun and it was a great experience, but it wasn't ultimately my baby, it wasn't my truth. And so I left that and went into various entrepreneurial pursuits, which all have done well, but again, it wasn't my truth. And I paid the consequence for that very dearly. And I'm lucky to have actually come out of it, to be honest. It's been extremely hard work to recover from that, and I'm still working on it every day. You know, it's the process of doing the little things every single day that makes the biggest difference. And these little things that are easy to do are also extremely easy not to do. And that's the challenge with having a daily practice or doing all these little things, is that it's so easy just to say, oh, I'll do it tomorrow, and then 6 months pass and you didn't meditate for 6 months. So I guess I got a lot better at doing the little things and understanding the importance of doing those things like meditation and yoga and having an Epsom salt bath and, you know, all the little things that I do each day, going for a walk, spending time with you, playing with my son, writing music. These are all things that nourish my soul. And if I don't do them, then I just lose track and I lose that state of flow, basically.
How important do you think showing up and being diligent is for the creative process?
I don't know who said this, and I'll paraphrase, but in The War of Art, he quoted someone saying that he asked someone the question, how do you stay so creative? And that person said, I'm lucky that creativity strikes me every morning at 9 a.m.
I remember that.
You know, it's like, of course, this writer, this author, he's prolific because he shows up and he doesn't want to every day. Absolutely does not want to do it.
The mean girl's there, the bad boy, the resistance. It's like, oh, but you got to check your emails, or you got to, you know, take the rubbish out. You know, your mean girl will make up a million excuses for why you can't show up. But the most amazing thing to do is just show up anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think if I had to pick one thing to show up to, for me personally, which is the one thing that's made the biggest difference, would be meditation. And I know you talk about this a lot, and we actually really, let's face it, we actually really bonded over meditation. We have the same meditation teacher. And it's had a profound impact on our lives. And it's not always easy. I mean, meditation is an easy practice, that's for sure. But it's not always easy to do it, in the sense, because again, it's one of those easy things that you can just go,
Yeah.
You know?
I don't feel like it, or I've got to do this, or, you know, something else.
Yeah, and you know, the last, God, I don't know how long, 6 months or more, every meditation has been incredibly busy because my mind is spinning with so many things I want to do. And that's okay. And I've just learned not to judge my meditations and just let that be. And, you know, the form of stress my body's going to take at the moment will be in the form of thoughts because I'm in a very productive state. So naturally, when I quieten down, my body's going to throw thoughts out because that's the stress form my body's taking. So you just have to show up and not judge it and just let it be. And I know that I'll turn a corner and all of a sudden I'll be into beautiful, deep meditations, which are just as nourishing as the busy ones.
And, you know, you're about to step out onto this massive world stage. You know, you're launching your first ever single. Like, this is huge. This is so exciting. Like, it's freaking huge.
Yeah.
How does that feel? Because you're quite introverted. I'm definitely not introverted.
Yin yang, for sure.
We balance each other out.
Definitely.
How does that feel for you? Like, you know, because I have a lot of my tribe members are, you know, they want to start these businesses. They want to be speakers or coaches or even a yoga teacher, but they're introverted. So how do you go with this?
Well, I think it's very easy. People may look at you and think, wow, you know, what a life you've got. And may think, I really want to do that. I want to be a speaker. But often something that's really shiny might not be the thing that's right for you. And you're great at it because you definitely are an extrovert. You're a bubbly, outgoing, you love people, you know, you love being out and about. I'd prefer to be here with a book. You know, I'm a reader. I'm a total bookworm. You know, I'd rather be here on my own or with you watching a beautiful film or a documentary. Or, you know, I always used to wonder growing up, everybody used to want to go out and drink and do these sorts of things, and I didn't have an interest, and I always used to go anyway because, you know, peer pressure when you're young. And even back in my sneaky days, you know, these boys were like full of energy, outgoing, partying, and I was just boring. Well, they thought I was boring, but it's just me. And I read this book recently called Quiet, and it finally gave permission to be an introvert and to embrace that, because there's so much power in the introvert. In going inwards and being reflective and making very considered decisions in life is a very powerful thing to do. Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, Ray Dalio, you can name a gazillion people who are introverts who have done some of the most impressive things on this planet. And usually, you know, there's only a handful of presidents that have actually been introverts, because that requires a very extrovert sort of personality. And that's a very Harvard mentality. You've got to be outgoing. Harvard itself is built around extroverts. That whole corporate world, banking, is built around extroverts. We've been trained, our classes are trained to do things in groups to bring out, that side of kids. And our little boy Leo is definitely more introvert. And he's just not going to be that outgoing person. And now I realise, well, that's actually okay. And so for me now, it's about harnessing the power of the introvert, which is really about being in my creative space, in my studio, writing beautiful music to the best of my ability, and then recreating that on stage, being in my own introverted space on stage so that people can experience what I'm feeling and not trying to project it onto them, just let them into my space. So that's been it's been very liberating for me to know that being an introvert is actually, it's just me and it's okay.
And, you've just given yourself full permission to just embrace your authenticity. And I think it's so beautiful because it's who you are. And, people presume that being out there, you have to be, but you definitely don't.
No, I don't think so. I mean, it's interesting with this music video, when the concept came to director James Chappell and I, it came to us very easily, very quickly. We pretty much nailed the concept in about 15 minutes while I was on the phone in a Jetstar queue. And that was definitely being in a state of flow. But one of the things he said to me was, all right, we're going to do this dancer and you're going to be standing there, you'll be still. And I'll tell you about that concept in a minute. But he said to me, and you're going to have your shirt off and you're going to be dancing. And I'm like...
And you're not a dancer?
I'm not a dancer. I've never danced in my life. And on top of that, I'll have my shirt off,
You're like, oh God.
And I thought, well, you know what? This is a song about love and sex. And what I wanted to do with this music video was to bring that out of the song, to heighten that experience of love and sex for the viewer. And I think that's really what it did. And, we chose Natalie, who's a friend of ours. She's an ex-Royal Ballet, Australian ballet dancer. Hasn't danced for 9 years. You would never know. She's so stunning.
Beyond beautiful.
And it was beautiful because it had to be convincing that her and I could be lovers. And we look kind of similar, and it just had this beautiful symmetry. But the whole concept of that music video was about the masculine and the feminine. And this was, letting the viewer in here on our little world. This is really how Melissa and I bonded, because we spoke a lot about the masculine and the feminine when we first started courting each other, which was very brief. But you at the time were reading a book by David Dieter called Dear Lover, and I was reading the male counterpart to that called The Way of the Superior Man.
This was coincidentally too, not planned.
No, not planned. And I'd read it before, but it was the second or third time I was reading it.
So we were finishing reading these books. We just finished when we kind of met.
Yeah. And it's all about the masculine and feminine polarity and how every one of us has masculine and feminine energy. And I'm not talking about male and female, I'm talking about the actual yin and yang, the masculine and feminine energy that resides in all of us. And I'm very different to you. I have different levels of masculine and feminine. You've got different levels of feminine and masculine. And it's the same for same-sex couples. Everybody has this polarity. And it's that polarity that creates that attraction. It's like two opposite magnets just going, and just coming together like that. And you and I have that beautifully, where I'm very sure of my masculine energy, you're very sure of your feminine, so together we work very well. We know our roles. And the music video was all about that. And I represent the masculine, which is that firm, very erect, standing still energy, strong energy, which is the symbol of the phallic, and that's where it comes from in terms of the masculine. That's the yang. And Natalie was the yin, she's the flag blowing in the wind around the flagpole. That feminine which moves around softly and dances around the masculine. And the masculine provides that solidarity for the feminine to be soft and feminine and beautiful. And we wanted to really heighten that in this, and that was the concept for it. And we shot the whole thing in colour, of course, but then turned it all down into monochrome, black and white. We were all painted in green, and we'll make a behind the scenes video so you can see how we did it, and then change that green into red. So that red was a very primal representation of her energy being rubbed, literally rubbing her energy, rubbing her feminine energy onto me as we merged into that one person, into that yin and yang. and we're constantly falling and catching each other, which is what the feminine does. It's a constant dance. It's a dance of Shiva and Shakti. It's a very ancient concept, Shiva and Shakti. In fact, the choreographer, Jason Winters, when we spoke to him about it, and then he sent me an email, he started talking about Shiva and Shakti, and he had intuited exactly what I had intuited and what James had intuited, all individually together, had come up with this concept separately, which was amazing. And it's just, it's such a beautiful, beautiful video. And, I watched it and I kind of am stunned at what was created and how easily that came together. It came together in about 4 weeks and it was just done. And I'm just so proud and happy with the result.
You should be, baby. You should be. It's amazing. I know for me, it brings me to tears almost every time I watch it. Full body goosebumps. And, we've had quite a few listening parties here and where we've had people over and we've blared the music really loud, probably annoyed all of our neighbours. And most people that have sat here, all the females that have sat here and listened to your tracks, I should say, have either been brought to tears or just totally gobsmacked. And Johnny Pollard from One Giant Mind, one of our dear friends, he was just in a state when he was listening to this. And, he was saying it was spiritual, it was, godlike, it was just so special. And that's how I feel when I listen to the music. And so I want to encourage you guys to, when you listen to it, the video is below, which is epic. Make it as big as your computer screen, turn the music up, really just give yourself this time and really feel what bubbles up for you, and then share with Nick and I in the comments below, what came up for you. I'd love to hear what you felt whilst you watched this, because I want to see if you guys can feel the state that Nick was in when he was creating this music, because we talk a lot about creativity and flow, and most of my tribe are very creative, very in flow, or, whatever you want to call it. And I believe that when you show up, which is what we're talking about before, when you show up and you beat resistance, you beat your mean girl and you show up anyway, and you open yourself up, the divine, creative God, source, whatever, it just flows through you. And I know that's how you explain how your music came to you. Mm-hmm. It's not like there was a thought of, I am going to go and create an epic track called Little Lover now. That's not what it happens. It's like, for me, I'm not going to go and write an epic book right now. You show up, you open yourself up, and the divine just comes through you, or your creative genius, or whatever you want to call it. What would you say for people who want to push past that resistance but not sure how?
I think it's about discipline and having a practice each day, spiritual and work-wise, which gets you in that state of flow. But then also not being too hard on yourself. If you miss a day or something happens, don't beat yourself up. Just kind of move on, because look, I'm not perfect, nor are you. Like, we both miss meditations at times. Things happen, and I think you just need to just let it go and chalk it up as experience. But I think just having a consistent daily practice, and it's very hard for a single mother compared to me. Like, I've got a different life. I have you supporting me with Leo, and everyone has a different capacity. So I think you just need to be realistic. But once you decide what's realistic, stick to it. And then if you miss it, don't beat yourself up.
Beautiful. Well, is there anything else you want to add?
I think that's pretty good.
Yeah, me too.
Watch the video.
Yes.
Tell us what you think, and if you love it, share it with someone else who you think might enjoy it.
Yes, please share this. Let's get this out into the world. Let's, really get other people to connect with how they're feeling when they listen to it too. And please leave a comment. Let me know what feelings ignite within you when you hear this music. I can't watch it without tears and goosebumps all over my body. So I would be interested to see how you feel when you watch this music video. Make sure it's nice and loud. I'm so grateful to have you here, to have you in my life. It's the best.
Thanks, baby.
And yay, happy launch day! Woohoo!